Hi everyone, I am Dr. Attar, veterinary practitioner and health activist, and in this video we try to say something about quarantine and isolation. It is March 13 and just now we say what is the meaning of a quarantine, what's the valuability of a quarantine, and when and why the quarantine became a restricted measure for control of this newly produced COVID-19. Quarantine means a temporary restriction of the peoples from movement of the peoples, and social interventions of the peoples are at the contact with infectious particles despite of the absence of any clinical signs just yet. And limitations means restriction of infected peoples in a special area for preventing spread of infectious particles to another. Which one is very important? Really, both of them are important, but selection of many items is very important for stabilizing of a good quarantine. Good quarantine is managed with cooperation between the peoples and the governance. Peoples must become qualified and respect about the meaning of a quarantine. They must respect to the condition, and when they are self-quarantine at home, the governance must prepare food, electric, water and other facilities at home freely, and in despite of this, preparing of a hotline of a communication between the health minister, between the health council and the peoples at home help the governance to manage the cases at home, and it is the decision of a health council to select this patient must need to the hospitalization or not. This management help preventing spread of a disease between the population. As the Mr. Tedros, the WHO president says, just know the countries in the world divided in 4 categories. Someone with no clinical signs, someone with sporadic cases, someone with cluster cases, and the worst thing is the countries with the community problems, the community transmission problem, which in the cases of Italy, in the case of Iran, in the case of South Korea, produce a hazardous effect as the same as the first cases of a China counterpart. In this community problem, the most aggressive things is religious gathering. Religious gathering is very difficult things, both in Islamic countries like Iran, like Saudi Arabia, like South Korea in the case of a church, a special church on that area, and this religious gathering produce community spread, and the community spread boosts the spread of a disease around the territory. What measures must be done when you take a look the management of a quarantine? The management of a quarantine must be done in concomitant with strict recognition of cases, strict recognition of persons in contact, and evaluation of them, and management and managing of a persons at home. If the sanitary levels, if the medical council intervene the position of infected cases in the isolation managed at home, the burden of patients in the ICU and hospital facility decreased, and help the medical councils to manage them. This quarantine is very important. Just know we heard something about the management of an Iranian health council about recruitment of militias and Revolution Guard Council of Basij to re-evaluating of patients at home. This is some very important things, that the more qualified, educated persons must be done in this process. If you use the uneducated cases, as maybe happened in a couple of days later in Iran, we are fearing of separate and huge burden of new cases approximately 7 to 14 days after this intervention. No, I am emphasized that in the countries this management quarantine must be done restrictly, especially in the first cases. When the community phase began, it is very difficult to manage. Meanwhile, this movement of quarantine and isolation of infected cases, quarantine of cases in contact with the suspected cases, is very drastic things which have both medical, social and economic concepts must be notified by the government. No restriction, no quarantine, in despite of a government responsibility, can do and can be effective. Keep with us in another video. We try to say some things, some remedies. We find them are valuable in despite of their low price, which became feasible in the some countries, some poor countries need to intervention with less expensive drugs. Keep with us and hope to the future. Thank you so much.